Hi everyone, and welcome back to Creative Chelsea. Today I'd like to share with you the card that I am sending to all of my Paper Pumpkin customers. So every month, Paper Pumpkin is mailed out to my customers, and as a thank you, I supply them with a card kit from me to make 2 cards using only the stamp set from the Paper Pumpkin kit. Now my customers love this because it adds value to the Paper Pumpkin kit. So once they have made all their cards using the supplies in the kit, then they have the stamp set and the ink pad left, and they're able to continue to make beautiful cards using the supplies I send them, as well as getting a new idea for things that they can continue to make using their own supplies. Now what I provide in my kit is the cardstock and the accessories for these cards. I don't provide any ink pads, stamps, or adhesives. If this is interesting to you and you'd like to be one of my Paper Pumpkin customers, there is a sign-up link for Paper Pumpkin in the description box below. I am sending all of my customers the supplies to make this card. However, I wanted to use it in a different color to show you that you can use any color to create these beautiful cards. So this stamp set has this gorgeous flower and this fun birthday cake. And I was even thinking of making one with the smaller flower as well, but I just didn't. So those are the 2 images I used on the backgrounds for these cards. And this one is in Pretty Peacock, and I love that blue. And when I spritzed it, I will show you the technique, but when I spritzed it, this particular ink bleeds a lot more than the Rococo Rose ink does. And so I was able to get some really fun variations of that color on the paper. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm going to show you how I made this Rococo Rose flower congratulations card. So all you need is a Rococo Rose card base, and this is cut to 5.5 by 8.5 and scored at 4 1/4. And then you're going to need a mat, and it's a little larger than our piece of watercolor paper. So the watercolor paper comes in a sheet that is 5 inches by 7 inches, and I cut that in half so that it is 5 inches by 3.5. So this is a 1/4 inch larger. So it would be 5 inches and 1/4 by 3 3/4 inches. And then we're using some sparkle glimmer paper and a strip in Whisper White, as well as some white baker's twine. Okay, so let's start with this fun stamping technique. So you need to do this stamping technique on some watercolor paper. And you're going to want to have some scrap paper underneath so that when you spray the water, it has somewhere to be soaked up. Get your ink pad, and you can use any ink color and your stamp. And you're just going to randomly stamp the flower all over your watercolor paper. So my Rococo Rose ink, I've used it a lot. And so we're kind of running a little bit low, and I need to get a new refill. So that could be another reason why when I spritz it, it's not spreading as much, because I'm not getting a ton of ink on my paper. So just make sure as you're stamping these images that you're not overlapping. And then go ahead and fill in any spaces that might have been left over. And you can rotate the flower so that you can get the image that you like best. Okay, so once you're done with your stamping, you can grab either a water bottle, not a water bottle, a spray bottle, or one of the stamping spritzers from Stampin' Up, and you're just going to spritz it with water. So go ahead and clear your space so you're not going to get water everywhere, and you'll just spritz it. And what this is going to do is it's going to pull up some of that ink and kind of spread it around. So you can see how that Rococo Rose ink doesn't spread the same as the Pretty Peacock. See, that spread a ton. Really filled up the whole paper. It's kind of pulling a little bit more. It's getting darker. And then what you're going to do, once you let it sit for a minute, if you would like a little more color, so in my original card, I wanted more color in the background. And so I took my ink pad, and if you press the two together, you can get some ink in that lid. And then I took a aqua painter and I picked up some of that ink and I started adding that to my background. So right there is really wet. So I'm going to actually find a different place that's not so wet. And what you do is you want to start in the middle because it is going to spread out. And then that kind of will give you an idea of how much spread you're going to see when you put the ink down. So you can see that that really spread out. So you're just going to dab it around those flowers just to create a little more depth to the image. And then if it doesn't have a lot of water, you can go get closer to the image. I love how this technique really softens up the lines from the flower, as well as kind of create some really fun watercolor look that is interesting and beautiful with this flower. So I've got a tissue here and I'm just going to pick up some of this water just in that area where I want to do a little more color. Kind of let that one drip down a little bit. Okay. So to clean your aqua painter, you just squeeze the bladder until the water runs clear, like that. Okay, you can either put this to the side if you're making a bunch of them and let it dry, or you can heat it with your heat tool, which I'm going to do. Don't miss out on next month's paper pumpkin kit. In the March 2020 kit, there will be an extra stamp set for free to celebrate 7 years of paper pumpkin. Make sure to subscribe by March 10th using the link in the description box below. Remember when you're heating with your heat tool to heat the front and the back of your paper to kind of help it stay straight and not warp too much. Okay, so let's go ahead and add it to the mat. And I'm just going to use some liquid adhesive. And I'm using liquid adhesive because this is such a heavy piece of paper that I want to make sure that it doesn't actually accidentally come off. And you can see that that paper has warped a little bit. So once that glue starts to dry, we can try to squeeze that or flatten that out a little bit more. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to color our glimmer paper. So this paper is retired, this actual color. So this color is the Dazzling Diamonds Glimmer Paper. And so it's kind of got a white base, so it's really easy to color. But I was looking in the catalog and it seems like they have a sparkle glimmer paper, which looks like it is white as well. And so that you could probably use that if you don't have the Dazzling Diamonds and do the same technique, and I'm sure it would work fine. So you'll need our papers back, and you'll want a sponge dauber and your ink. And you're just going to add ink to the sponge dauber and then press it into the glimmer paper. And I love how this just changes the glimmer paper into something that coordinates with this monochromatic card. And you could go over this a couple times if you want and try and get a darker color, or do just one time for a little lighter version. Oh, you know what? Let's leave this open and we'll go ahead and stamp our greeting. So this is a 1/2 inch strip and you can make it as wide as you need. And I'm just going to use the greeting congratulations that is part of the stamp set. So since it's only 1/2 inch, my greeting is going to come off a little bit on that G. So that's why I'm using the scrap paper. Okay, and then the last thing we need is 18 inches of baker's twine, and that's going to get wrapped around the mat. So 16, 17, 18, and then go ahead and trim that. Okay, so let's wrap the twine, and it is going kind of in the center, and we can adjust it after we tie and put everything down. And I always do a knot. So I'm trying to just find the middle of that twine and then tie a bow. Or not the middle, find in the area where both ends are about the same. So I don't have one end that is longer than the other. So when baker's twine twists up like this, I just untwist it and then pull it through the knot. And sometimes that kind of helps move that twist outside of my bow. Now we're going to add the glimmer paper, and I'm just going to again use some liquid adhesive, because that's going to help the thicker paper stay on the card a little better. And I'm just putting that to the left of the mat and trying to eyeball and make sure that's even. Sometimes you might have some ink that is pulled up from that glimmer paper, because the glimmer paper isn't really absorbent, and so you might have ink until it dries kind of get picked up on your fingers or something. But we're all used to that, right? We're crafters, card makers. Then bring your ribbon to the base of that glimmer paper. And I'm just going to rotate the bow so that it's in that corner. All right, because we're adding something to glimmer paper, we're going to use liquid adhesive again. And this does have a hard time adhering. Glimmer paper, it's hard to adhere things to glimmer paper. So this might come off, but just go ahead and stick it back down. As that glue dries, it gets stickier. And so that's a really good adhesive to use for something like this, where both sides will be sticky and then they can stick together better. So lastly, we're going to use dimensionals to add this to our card base. Fold your card base along the score line, and if you have a bone folder, go ahead and make that nice and sharp crease. And then you're going to just center this on your card. Now I chose to do a monochromatic card because I knew that you would have the ink for this project, and as well as I really wanted this part of the card to shine, and so I didn't want to add another color back here that would distract from this beautiful paper that we made. Okay, So our card is done. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe, like, and share. Visit creativechelsea.com for more information about Paper Pumpkin and to start getting your monthly kit. Have a creative day. Bye.